Hello everyone, I am Tessellating Hexagons, and I must thank you for your patience, if indeed you've been patient with me, because I just moved house, although if I've done my job correctly, you won't be able to tell apart from me literally just telling you. Anyway, that means that I am a few days late in reviewing Slovenia's song for Eurovision 2021. Yeah, this was publicly released a couple of days ago, but I've kind of been moving halfway across the country through no fault of my own, so I apologize for the delays, but here I am now. Once again, just like last year, Slovenia will be represented by one Miss Anna Soklič. Last year, she performed completely in Slovene. Well, this year, she's doing a complete 180 from that, because English is clearly the polar opposite of Slovene, and she's singing the song Amen, or Amen if you prefer, presented, as I said, fully in English, music by Anna herself, as well as Bojan Simončić and Žiga Pirnat, and lyrics by Charlie Mason, who you might recognise as doing the lyrics for Slovenia 2015 and Austria 2014, amongst others. So, you've waited long enough? How do I feel about this song? Well, to be completely honest, my very first impression after listening to it for the very first time was okay. It's not that I'm particularly lost for words here, it's just I'm not really sure what to say to it. Thematically, it reminds me of North Macedonia's entry from 2019, and there's something about the key and the melody that reminds me a little bit as well of the opening of Ukraine's 2013 offering. At my most skeptical, I'd say it's a too little, too late attempt to cash in on the whole gospel trend that happened for about a few years ago, but I don't know. One thing I do wonder though is, in the official presentation video, link in the description, the end slate, and the iCard, as always, I always do that, I want you to listen to the song for yourself and come to your own conclusions, not just blindly follow what I say. There's an extra 30 seconds or so of just the backing vocalists at the very end. I'm fairly sure that's not officially considered to be part of the entry, but on the off chance that it is, that would mean that they might have to chop 30 seconds out from elsewhere in the song, and that would just be in favour of a protracted outro that doesn't add anything. I do hope I'm reading far too much into what is clearly supposed to just be backing music for an end credits sequence. I worry too much. It's an endearing character trait of mine. But enough about all of that nonsense, let's talk about what you might like here. The big neon light obvious thing about this song is its overall vibe of just being uplifting and encouraging without spreading mindless platitudes. That is to say, it's a song that endeavours to be positive and encouraging whilst acknowledging that it's doing so in an environment that is healing from negativity. It's less, don't be sad, be happy, and more, I'm here to help you through the tough times because it will get better. Allow me to sing to you about the better. That acknowledgement alone makes the whole thing feel far less generic and banal. Anna embodies this remarkably too. I could totally believe her when she sings this, like almost as if she has a specific person in mind that she's imagining singing it to when she performs it. As a result, the presentation of the song gives me the distinct impression that she is no stranger to just owning the stage. I'm not sure what this gesture was, but it's going on anyway. But in the case of this song, owning the stage in a mood-appropriate way, i.e. not what I just did. Haha, and as a result, I am inclined to believe that the staging for this song will be very powerful and very impactful. On the musical front, meanwhile, the arrangement as a whole explores quite a bit of development over the course of the song. It starts softly and intimately and a little bit minimalistic, which sort of sets the tone that the lyrics and their story are trying to convey, and then it steadily builds into something much larger and more spectacular as it progresses. It feels like it opens up after a fashion. The song blooms like a flower, if that makes any sense at all. And something within that analogy, Anna's voice blooms with it. This is a very demanding song to sing, bearing in mind that it calls for fairly deep female vocals, especially in the more tender and intimate parts of the song. But that same voice then also has to expand and project and fill the much larger notes of the refrain. It's not an easy one to deliver by any stretch of the imagination, but Anna absolutely rises to the occasion. I fully trust her to blow us away on the night in Rotterdam. Still, of course, this is one of those songs where it should probably come as no surprise to learn that some people are just not a fan of it. You might not like some aspects of it, and that's okay too. For instance, the very nature of the song unto itself may be a turn-off for some people. If you're more accustomed to songs of higher levels of complexity or energy, then this, in comparison, may come across to you as too plain or too simplistic. You might not feel as engaged by it. If that's the case, I do encourage you to slow down, give it another chance, but if you can't find it in yourself to let this song in the end, that's okay. Not everyone's wired this way. I, for one, do get something of a feeling that the song almost sounds like it's building up to something huge, and then it never quite delivers on that. Make no mistake, it certainly builds up to something, and there is a payoff to that build-up, but in a way that I can't quite describe, it feels like it never quite reaches that high that it's promising. Granted, that is another point that is entirely down to personal preference and personal experience, but hey, that's why I changed the name of this part of the review to You Might Not Like as of a few years ago. That being said, the thing the song is building up to, I might be showing the true colours of how my brain works here, but the final refrain of the song, well, is that a key change? I honestly find it difficult to tell. Like, it sounds like the song swells up into a victory key change for the end, and it has all the trimmings and trappings of that, but it sounds like the melody goes both up and down from the regular, the rest of the song at the same time. And I'm not sure if it actually does end up landing in a different key or not, or maybe it does some sort of weird musical prestidigitation and ends up back where it started. Either way, it sounds enough like one for it to trip that mental gag reflex that I have. Because, as I said, the trimmings around the final refrain here sound very dated ballad trying to sound victorious and above its station. Make no mistake, the majority of the instrumentation doesn't do that. The majority of the arrangement is actually a very good, solid song. It's just, I'm having flashbacks to some of my own country's more egregious past mistakes here. So, having wrapped all of that up, giving this song a number, I'll settle for a personal score of 6 out of 10 for the time being, but know that I was hovering between a 6 and a 7. The thing is, as an artist, I really like and respect Anna, and I love what she does with this song. I'm totally sold on her performance, and she fosters this feeling of care and trust that makes me feel like I could come to her with my personal problems and she'd make them go away. But being realistic unto myself, this just isn't the sort of song that I personally would regularly come back to. I may well listen to it on occasion when I have a very specific musical need in mind, but it wouldn't be a regular revisit for me, just out of personal preference. And the key change or maybe not part at the end is kind of the final nail in that particular coffin, just for me. This is just my personal opinion. This isn't grounded in reason. As for what is grounded in reason though, the technical score, I'll give her a high 8, bordering on a 9, because I do feel that there are facets to this song that struggle with accessibility and appeal. And while it has components that could set it apart from others in this general field, I fear that it doesn't do quite enough to convince the average listener that those components are even there, never mind that they're effective. That being said, everything about the instrumentation that I already praised very much does still apply. The way the song starts off small and then explodes into a firework display of emotion is very much worthy of praise, and Anna's vocals being able to more than match those needs with style and power multiply that feeling even further. It may not be something that the average viewer can appreciate necessarily, but the juries ought to know quality when they hear it here. Also, her entry from last year and the fact that she competed in the national final last year kinda demonstrates that she's definitely up to the task of delivering it live, so I would hope the juries would do their job here. So, how is this as Slovenia's response to last year not happening? Absolutely brilliant! You might well recall that last year, Slovenia chose Anna, like I said, by way of a national final. As a matter of fact, last year's edition of EMA, or Eurovizijska Melodija, was the biggest edition for quite some time, if not ever. It had that whole new section that took several weeks called EMA Fresh. And it will be fully understandable that the broadcaster would be anxious to get back to that, to build on it as quickly as possible. But despite this, they were very clear, in no uncertain terms, that no, the broadcaster was going to uphold and acknowledge the will of the Slovenian people and appreciate Anna's 2020 win without a fight. More than that, they encouraged her, and as far as I can tell, they offered support in crafting her 2021 Eurovision entry, as well as giving her a full televised song reveal show. I tip my hat to that level of respect and commitment. But will that pay off in the form of Slovenia reaching this year's final? I have to confess, I'm not massively confident, but I see that lack of personal confidence and counter it by pointing out that it is by no means impossible. After all, the reason for my fear here is that this sort of music tends not to fare well with the average viewer under most circumstances. And being in semi-final 1, that means that Anna will be competing with some of the songs that already have a lot of attention brewing around them. On the other hand, though, quite a few of those are lively, upbeat entries, which means that this could either massively stand out in contrast to them, or it could come across like a mood killer depending on the cynicism of the live audience. As for the juries, as I said before, if they have any respect for their jobs, they ought to recognise the qualities of this song and the performance, and so it ought to guarantee Slovenia at least a bed of points to land on, saving them from a total disaster of a result. It really does come down to making a connection with the voting public on the night, I think. And with that in mind, bearing in mind how well it worked for North Macedonia 2 years ago, a qualification and a really good final result is absolutely possible. Don't count Slovenia out just yet, you lovely people. But that being said, like I said, listen to the song for yourself, come to your own conclusions, have your own original thoughts. If you agree, great. If you don't, also great. Whatever the case may be though, to Anna and to Team Slovenia, I wish you the very best of luck, and I look forward to seeing just how much power you bring to the stage in May.